You're fooling yourself. Nah, come easy there, right? Nah, give up this so easy. And the first thing, the first step in the journey, comrades, is we need to fight the human rights and to say we are because jungle represent half of the human. Yeah. I'm proud of them. And I'm giving them strength. And I feel that no guy in a part of the can't
said love Rastafari.
Yes, welcome to the Jamaica Young Police channel. To our loyal viewers and subscribers. At the channel, we are a group of law-abiding citizens who believe in the rule of law and respect the rights of every citizen, but not the ones who do not subscribe to such behavior. We do believe in and support preemptive strikes because it saves lives. That is a logical conclusion because preemptive strikes save lives and prevent the further loss of lives. We are all about saving lives on this channel. We at this channel aid criminals, their financiers, their supporters, enablers, and the likes with a passion, and we do not want them over here. Yes, let us repeat ourselves. We do not want any criminal supporters over here. Please, we do not want your views, your subscriptions, your likes, or your comments. Please go elsewhere where the red carpet is waiting for you. Over here, we want you, the criminal supporters, enablers, financiers, and all the likes, to go to prison or madness. Let me repeat myself. We are the Jamaica Young Police channel. We do not want the criminal supporters and their circle over here. We want you to go to prison or madden. Moving on to our video. So you heard Mark Golan, telling the people in my community, step it up. Talk about he got strength from junglists and all of this. Mark Golan is a fraud. Mark Golan is not a junglist. And he's not even a Jamaican. But Mark Golan is rehashing. He's going back to the Michael Manley tragedy of black people killing themselves for a white man who was born and raised in Britain. So all of you, like Yogi, Tommy Lee Sparta, who have killed Lana, Nicky Robertson, don't worry, man, because your 12 o'clock is coming very soon. Both of you. I don't think that you're going to get away with it. And I can tell you that whenever those bullets hit your body, the same way that you're looking right now, Yogi, that the same way you'll be looking out, begging that your life don't leave you, but it will. Because you're a wicked boy. Wicked. I don't know how the police make you being around this long. Tommy Lee Sparta too. And the others. As time goes by, the longest liver will see, because the wicked shall not last ever. And we are heartbroken to see that our own Jamaican people killing black people for a white man to gain power. Going back to the 1976, 1980, when we've been through all of this terrorism from the PMP LGBTQ plus criminal organization. And now you guys want to rehash it because you don't love yourself. You don't even love your own self. Because you don't know that when you kill a black person, you're killing yourself. You have no love. And then you're talking about rights. You have rights. But don't worry, your drive-by, both of your drive-by is coming very shortly. I can guarantee you guys that. So today we're going to talk about a woman. Yeah, man, Patricia Duncan Sutherland, the daughter of a murderer, DK Duncan. When I say no, allegedly, DK Duncan give you a family member of ours, M16 and 9mm pistol in a Kencat. And we say that without no apologies. This woman is dangerous. As our father. If you remember one time, the gunman named Papa that was killed in Augustown last year, the first gunman that got a state funeral, it was Papa. I remember who she had chastised after Papa was killed. It was the police. The murderer, the man who was wanted for murder, and was planning, he was lay waiting to kill Venetia Phillips, and the police get hold of the operation and they took him out. How many of you may have heard of DK Duncan? If you are honest and attentive to history, I've heard the whispers or perhaps the bold declarations about DK Duncan. The man infamous, not just for his political career, but also for stealing Michael Manley's wife, Beverly Anderson. Yeah, you know that Beverly Anderson Monday was all corrodes now, corrobunkus and dirty bungle. Because on God's earth, you are married to the Prime Minister, the head for the party, and then you end up there with the other man. But they say that she was always DK Duncan's mattress, even when she married to Michael Manley. So they're saying that even the children that it's all an allegation that the children that they had that she had for Michael Manley is DK Duncan children them. So Michael Manley get jacket. I don't know, You understand? Oh, that happened. Oh, this man give Michael Manley jacket. Oh, you understand? Oh, the woman end up. I just saw it go. So that episode was not just a personal betrayal, but a symbolic glimpse into the moral decay and hypocrisy that has long characterized the PNP criminal organization, which, some people call it, without apology, the People's Nasty Party. Because them say, if you can deal with the leader, wife, still in a party and people still arms you up, I'm going to ask the people do that, so that's why some people call the PNP the People's Nasty Party. So let us reflect for a moment. DK Duncan was not merely a politician. Yes, as we tell you before, and we continue to say again that, this man and his daughter, they are the epitome of evil. So let us reflect for a moment. As we said, DK Duncan was not merely a politician. He was emblematic of a political class that preached righteousness to the masses while indulging in their whole self appetites, both political and personal. And while my preached, all he was preaching was violence and used threat, terrorism to force the Jamaica Labour Party supporters to vote for the PNP or else them are dead. And it was real, because the PNP at the time had the police acting on behalf of the party as assassins. In the 1970s, as Jamaica struggled to find its footing amidst social upheaval, poverty and the rising tide of violence, Duncan, a man entrusted with national leadership, made headline for not uplifting the people, but for coveting and taking the wife of his own comrade, Michael Manley. Such behavior may have been normalized by his colleagues, but to the right-thinking Jamaicans, it revealed a deeper corruption of values, apart, more interested in satisfying personal lust and power than in building the nation. Fast forward to today, and you can clearly see that the apple has not fallen far from the tree. Look at Mark Gomebere Golding, the British-born leader of the PNP LGBTQ plus criminal organization, who has no ancestral or emotional ties to the struggle and triumph of Jamaica black majority. Here is a man who wears our colours, but whose art beats for Britain. A man promoting and encouraging division and violence among black people, while enjoying the privilege of wealth and foreign lineage. Under his watch and emboldened by his rhetoric, violence has spilled over yet again to two known JLP supporters from Swallowfield, Lorna, Nicky Robertson and Paul Roger Clark have been cut down, victims of a poisonous political culture that prioritizes loyalty to party over love of country. And now, they would have you to believe that the next generation has somehow learned from the past. But when you look at the thumbnail, look closer, you see Deacon Duncan standing proudly with his daughter, Patricia Duncan Sutherland. She is, as the saying goes, a chip off the block, polished in appearance, but rooted in the same soil of hypocrisy, opportunism, and wickedness. To the good people of Augustown, I, Christopher Porter, urge you, do not be deceived by her charm or the money she is spending. Name out the money if you must, as the people them doing in South Clarendon. It is your tax dollars that she's been sprinkling around anyway. But do not, yes, a thief, them myself, them a thief, you know. Yes, them a robber. But do not make the mistake of voting her into parliament. She will serve the same interests her father served. And those interests have never been yours. Our ancestors fought and died so that we can stand as proud, self-respecting people, not pawns in political game. DK Duncan's story is not just a tale of adultery. It is a warning about what happened when we allow morally bankrupt people to lead us. His daughter's candidacy, they say, it's not about progress. It's about perpetuating a dynasty of deceit, criminality, murder, and gunman culture. So stand firm. Don't eat worm. That was the PMP slogan back in the 1980s. Remember your history and let us refuse to let the mistakes of yesterday become the leaders of tomorrow. Dr. Keith DK Duncan was no ordinary figure in Jamaican history. He was a towering presence, a skilled dental surgeon turned fairy politician who became one of the most influential and controversial leaders of his generation. As a key figure in the PMP LGBTQ plus criminal organization, Duncan was often described as a firebrand, a master strategist, and even a political warrior, renowned for his unwavering commitment to his party and its ideology, though not without criticism, for his methods and impact on the nation's political culture. His career exemplifies both the power of peril and political zeal. As General Secretary of the PMP Criminal Organization from 1974 to 81 and Minister of National Mobilization and Human Resource Development 1977 to 1980, Duncan was the heart of the most tumultuous years in Jamaica's post-independence history, years marked by ideological battles, economic turmoil, and unprecedented political violence. The 1976 election triumph and transformation. By 1974, Duncan's ascent in the PMP criminal organization was undeniable. His appointment as General Secretary positioned him at the helm of the party's organizational and electoral machinery. 2 years later, the 1976 general election became his proving ground. That campaign unfolding during a time of national emergency as Jamaica grappled by violence between rival political factions. And when I say rival political factions, it was the PMP that were the violent ones. They are the one that sent over 2,500 young men to Cuba to train brigadistas. And we're not going to repeat ourselves. And that's how, and they create havoc in the Kingston metropolitan area. Duncan and Dieter not only managed the PMP criminal organization's campaign, but also ran for office in St. Andrews East Central, winning the seat and solidify his reputation as a savvy and determined political operator. After the election, which the PMP won decisively, Duncan was appointed Minister of Mobilization in 1977, tasked with rallying Jamaicans behind Michael Manley's vision of democratic socialism. This period saw aggressive efforts to mobilize the grassroots, redistribute resources, and reshape Jamaica's social and economic order. Yet, it also deepened ideological divisions. Duncan, as a central figure of the PMP criminal organization left wing, became a lightning rod for both admiration and outrage. The 1980 election defeat and defiance. By 1980, however, Jamaica was on the brink of chaos. The ideological experiment had faltered under crushing economic pressure and escalating violence. The lead-up to the 1980 election
was one of the bloodiest period in the island's history, with thousands of lives lost to political motivating killings. Throughout the storm, Duncan remained steadfast, still serving as General Secretary for the PMP criminal organization. He orchestrated the PMP criminal organization campaign in what became as an existential fight for the party. Though the PMP suffered a massive defeat, losing power to Edward Seaga, Jamaica Labour Party, in a landslide, Duncan himself retained his seat in Parliament, a testament to his personal political strength and the loyalty he inspired among his constituents. So in which part in the control was Kencat, Maxfield, all of them people there, poor, low IQ, illiterate, socialistic, lazy, them no work. These are people who wait for government to take care of them. So the government just keep them in a poverty and them rely upon the government. They don't say education as a part to help themselves. Then they encourage them children to work hard. Everything is all about hustle, rob, kill people and all kind of thing, crime. One moment from his era became iconic and controversial at a PMP criminal organization rally in Spanish Town as gunfire erupted and panic spread through the crowd. Duncan was filmed openly brandishing a firearm, assisting security personnel in shielding then Prime Minister Michael Manley. To some, it symbolizes courage under fire and his fierce loyalty to his leaders and cause. Epitomized PMP descent into a cultural intimidation and political violence. So we're telling you now, that was a stage event. The shooting itself, it was a stage event. The gunmen were from Kingston 12 era. It was men that Tony Welch had brought over to Spanish Town, to gain sympathy for people to vote for Michael, because Michael Manley was so unpopular. Because Michael Manley was a wicked man, whether or not you want to believe it, but they tried to paint him as the savior of Jamaica. Michael Manley was no savior; he was the devil that destroyed Jamaica, and that's why we're at this juncture at this time. So that's why we have to reject this man, Mark Gomebia Golden. Before now, we didn't have any political violence in Jamaica since 1980. And he's the one that came to our island and ratcheted up. Another white man. So we have the massacre over there by Gregor Park. Now we have these two people, and there are so many. They kill Tyson. They kill Williams in Montego Bay, and there are so many PMP and Labour that this man has, have blood on his shoulder. Mark Gomebia Golden. You understand? So D.K. Duncan was more than just a political figure. He embodied the contradictions of a critical era in Jamaica's history. A man deep convictions who also entangled in excess of his party's ambitions. He was a close lieutenant to Michael Manley and one of the intellectual architects of the PMP criminal organization's radical left turn in the 1970s. His passion for social justice and transformation could not be denied. Yet history also holds him accountable for contributing to the political tribalism and violence that scarred Jamaica's landscape and psyche to this day. For younger generations, Duncan's story is a cautionary tale of how the thirst of power can both inspire great movements and inflict deep wounds. It reminds us that political leadership requires not only vision, but also restraint, humility, and respect for democratic norms. Qualities too often lost in the heat of ideological battles. In remembering D.K. Duncan, we are compelled to reflect not just on what he has achieved, but on what his era cost Jamaica. We must strive to learn from his triumphs and mistakes so that we can build a nation where justice and peace prevail all over partisan and violence. So in the turbulent years 1979 to 1980, as Jamaica teetered on the edge of a civil unrest, Dr. D.K. Duncan and his close associates called Russian Thompson, Keeble Munn, Tony Spalding, that are my MP, Eve Lazelle, became notorious not only for their political activism, but for their role in arming young men across the Kingston metropolitan area. History records, though some would rather erase it, that Duncan, Thompson, Spalding, Munn, and others, the distribution of M16 rifles and 9mm pistols to gangs of young men in neighborhoods such as Kencut, Jonestown, Jungle, Maxfield, Trenchtown, Mall Road, Cockburn Pen, Waterhouse, East Kingston, and I can go on and on. They went even as far as South Clarendon. These weapons were not given to defend Jamaica from external threats or to uphold justice. No, they were handed out with one deadly purpose: to intimidate, silence, and ultimately destroy fellow Jamaicans, whose only crime was supporting the Jamaica Labour Party. It was a dark chapter in our nation's history, one in which neighbors turned on neighbors and innocent lives were lost to satisfy the bloodlust of political rivalry. The logic was chilling and cynical. Arm the youth with high-powered weapons, turn political ideology into warfare, and secure political dominance through fear and force. The result was predictable: an explosion of violence that devastated families, scarred communities, and set Jamaica on a path of political tribalism. The gun culture that still plagues us today. And here lies the tragedy and the warning. Instead of learning from the destruction, instead of repenting for the suffering wrought on countless Jamaicans, the next generation seem determined to walk the same path. Because of this big belly white man from England, Mark Gummerbeer Golding, because he want power at all costs. It's only us as Jamaican. The only way that we can deprive them of any power is not to vote for any of them. Vote against the PMP, LGBTQ plus criminal organization. Today, Patricia Duncan Sutherland. Yes, today, Patricia Duncan Sutherland, D.K. Duncan's daughter, seek political power herself. But make no mistake, she is walking in the ideological and moral footstep of her father. She inherits not just his name, but his political methods and legacy of his choices. To the people of Jamaica, especially those in the communities that bled so much during those years, ask yourself, can you trust the daughter of a man who armed your neighborhood with M16 rifles against you, who turned our youths into soldiers in a political war, who helped normalize the gun violence and that robs our children of their future? Do not be dazzled by campaign handouts or smooth words. Do not forget the blood that stained our streets, the funerals we attended, the children we buried, and the generations we lost to guns and fear. If Patricia Duncan Sutherland truly wished to atone for her father's deed, she would start by acknowledging the pain and seeking reconciliation with the communities he helped destroy. Instead, she seeks your votes as if nothing ever happened, as if the guns never fired, as if the graves don't exist. To the voters of Augustown and beyond, I say this plainly: take whatever money or gifts she offers you, because it is yours already, taken from her bank account that she have received from drug dealers who are donors. But when you enter the voting booth, remember history, remember the guns, remember the young men who were handed weapons instead of opportunities, and remember that a nation that forgets its history is doomed to repeat it again. Do not allow the sins of the past to become the mandate of the future. So when Michael Manley led the People's National Party criminal organization to victory in 1976 general election, it was not merely a result of popularity or the strength of his ideas. Rather, the victory was secured in large part through tactics that many have since condemned as undemocratic and oppressive. Tactics that include the arrest and detention of political opponents from the Jamaica Labour Party without trial or under the guise of national security and democratic socialism. During this dark chapter in Jamaica's history, Michael Manley declared a state of emergency, claiming it was necessary to combat rising violence and instability. However, this state of emergency was announced because it was about to expose Michael Manley and D.K. Duncan, along with a man named Spy Robinson, in which they were planning. This man was an assassin who was supposed to murder Edward Seaga. So the CFA's Michael Manley called a state of emergency to cover his criminal deeds. In practice, however, the emergency powers were used to round up dozens of JLP supporters and Rastas, many of them community leaders, organizers, and even ordinary citizens, and incarcerate them without charges or trial. They were held in makeshift detention centers such as the infamous Red Fence at Upper Camp, JDF headquarters, and No Man's Land, an open-air prison where detainees endure inhumane conditions. This was not just a security measure. It was a deliberate political strategy, weakening the JP ability to mobilize by removing its leaderships from the streets, silence dissent, and create an atmosphere of fear and intimidation in order to consolidate power. At the center of this machinery stood Dr. D.K. Duncan, the PMP criminal organization general secretary at the time and one of the chief architects of its political strategies. Duncan was deeply committed to radical socialist ideology of the PMP criminal organization and unapologetically ruthless in advancing its goals. After the PMP criminal organization victory in 1976, buoyed by suppression of opposition and the use of emergency powers, Duncan famously boasted, yes, at the National Stadium after the election, that the PMP would remain in power for 99 years. I met that sink in. This statement, hyperbolic yet revealing, encapsulated the hubris and confidence of the PMP criminal organization leadership during the height of the democratic socialist experiment. It reflected not only their conviction in the righteousness of their cause, but also their willingness to trample civil liberties in the name of political and ideological supremacy. But history has a way of humbling the proud. Just 4 years later, in the 1980 general election, the PMP suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of Edward Seaga's JLP. The Jamaican people, weary of political violence, economic hardship, and authoritarian practices, decisively rejected Manley and Duncan's vision. The 99 years, Duncan predicted collapse into just 4, making his boast one of the most ironic and infamous claims in Jamaica's political history. Yet the legacy of that era remains with us even today. It entrenched political tribalism, leaving scars that continue to divide communities. It normalized political violence, creating a culture where guns and intimidation became tools of political expression. It eroded trust in democratic institutions, showing how easily freedom can be sacrificed under the banner of ideology. To truly understand Jamaica's journey, we must confront this history honestly. We must remember that the 1976 election was not just simply a democratic triumph of ideas, but also a sobering lesson about the danger of authoritarianism masquerading as progress. D.K. Duncan's role in this period was central, as both a brilliant organizer and ruthless enforcer of PMP criminal organization's agenda. His words and actions serve as a cautionary tale that when political leaders place ideology and power above the rights and dignity of the people, democracy itself is at risk. As we look back, let us remember those who suffer unjustly in red fence and no man's land, and let their experience guide us to demand accountability, fairness, and true democracy from those who seek to lead us. So we are showing Patricia Duncan, she's a cut from the same cloth as her father, evil as evil can be. So you watch, you listen, and you decide. So we're not stop show you Nikki photograph because they murder her and them not going to get away with it. You watch, you listen, and you decide.
Between the key figures vying for the St. Andrew Eastern Battleground constituency. The Jamaica Labour Party JLP Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Eastern, Favour Williams, who is also the country's finance minister, launched a scathing critique of her opponent, Patricia Duncan Sutherland, and the opposition's plans if it forms the next government. Her comments came at a JLP area council meeting on Sunday. With the latest, here's Andre Jebinson.
Stage is being set for a St. Andrew Eastern showdown once the date is announced for the next general election. Favour Williams is trying to make it 3 in a row for the JLP. Her neighbour and fellow MP Juliet Holness thinks that Williams' success is assured.
Because like Jah work in East Rural, Favour is working in Eastern, and the second Juliet, my namesake, is working hard for the people of West Rural. We have never seen anything like that before, because people can only stay in seats when they work hard and they know that their constituents want them to come back to work hard again. Those who don't perform, them wander all over Jamaica.
Williams' seat has been characterized by narrow margins in previous elections. In 2020, the COVID election, she soundly beat Venetia Phillips. But in 2016, she won by just 161 votes, a margin of 1.1% over the PNP's Andre Hilton. The situation was similarly tight in 2011 when Hilton claimed a victory with only a 254 vote difference, translating to a 2% margin over Sapphire Longmore. This time it will be the PNP's Patricia Duncan Sutherland.
She rile up the people them in Augustown to tell the Zozo to leave. But that woman crazy. She don't know Augustown. She don't know Augustown when guns were barking in Augustown.
Jamaica's finance ministers have always had the cushion of a safe seat. Not so for the first woman to control the country's purse. She told her supporters to resist what the opposition is offering and instead sent her back to Gordon House so that she can continue her job at Heroes Circle.
Rude and out of order, think they could just waltz through Parliament with them words and words and words and not tell the people of Jamaica anything. For the whole week after they spoke in Parliament, people have been saying how much them promises gonna cost, how much, not a word out of them because they know they couldn't tell you how much they were gonna cost.
She argued that her spending plan is superior to the opposition's.
So when I presented it in Parliament for all Jamaicans to see, now them a run come say, oh, it's not 1 year, it's 5 years. But even when they do that, them maths still no maths in.
Andre Jebinson, CVM News.
Yeah, so you have here Favour Williams, the finance minister, addressing Patricia Duncan Sutherland. Show you that she's the epitome of evil because all she does is support gunmen, she don't support the police. No, just the same way as her father. But police were bodyguarding her father, I know more or less by the time election calls, she will have bodyguard around her. So electing and supporting this woman, the daughter of a man who bears responsibility for the blood of thousands of Jamaicans, would be nothing short of a national disgrace. It would be a shameful slap in the face to all those who suffered and died because of the ruthless political violence unleashed by her father's generation. As a people, we must hold ourselves to a higher standard. We cannot and must not reward the children of those who orchestrated terror and division with a seat in our parliament. To do so is to dishonor the memory of the innocent Jamaicans who lost their lives, the Jamaican whose families torn apart and the communities left scarred by decades of bloodshed. This woman may try to follow her father's footsteps by funneling guns into our neighborhoods, hoping that fear and intimidation would win her votes. But let it be known, the people of Jamaica are not easily fooled as they did before. And the security forces, our soldiers and police, are vigilant and well prepared. No amount of imported guns or hired gunmen can erase the truth, nor can they overpower a people determined to stand against tyranny. If she persists in these deadly tactics, she and her supporters must understand that they are right in their own faith, and it will not be victory. The funerals that will follow will not be of the innocent this time, but of the gunmen who dare to defy the law and oppress their own people at the base of the PMP LGBTQ plus criminal organization that has long betrayed Jamaica. Let us make it clear, we will not forget, we will not forgive, and we will not reward the heirs of violence with power. The blood of our fellow Jamaicans cries out for justice, not for more of the same, for the sake of our future, our children, and the dignity of our nation. Must ensure that this woman never take the seat in Parliament, not now, not ever. The father, evil, and the daughter is evil too. Remember, Jamaica, choose decency. This is the first time in the history of Jamaica since 1989 we have the lowest murder rate. Crime is at a all-time low. And thanks to the Jamaica Labour Party government, in which they invest in the security force. If it goes up to the PMP, Jamaica would still be rising as the #1 criminal paradise in the Caribbean Sea. So let's remember, whenever you're going to vote, remember Lana, Nicky Robertson, Rum Punch, Sweeney, and Roger, Paul Roger Clark, who were murdered at the hands of PMP LGBTQ plus criminal organization gunmen, in which, Yogi, we know your time is getting nigh. Nobody can save you from the wrath that's coming to you. Have yourself a beautiful day. Jamaica Young Police Channel out.